I hope you're ready for some ill logic. Last time we went over a Week 7 match against Elf Owls and the Newport Noctowls. Please go check out that video first if you have not done so already. We went over the Teambuilder and battle in which, spoiler alert, we finally nabbed our third win of this season in a great match, 2-0 going our way against a previously undefeated team. That brings our record up to 3-4 and an outside chance at a top 4 spot, funnily enough, as we tackled Matt and his 3-4 Cincinnati Incineroar's timestamps will be in the description. We've always seemed to have Matt's number in the WCL, defeating him most notably in the Season 4 finals on this very channel, but he's obviously a skilled battler and the commissioner of our league who runs the Wooper Club League channel. As a quick aside, please go check out the main league channel if you don't already. Matt runs the featured match section where Steve and I delve into the power rankings, and those rankings also ran a special on what it would take to make it into the first round by selection. We need to win, obviously, to stay ahead of the Incineroar, but from there our path is easy. Despite all these losses, none have been greater than 2-0, so our differential is high enough that we only need the Close Combat Club to fall to the Steamrollers, and the Route 1 Burbs currently in possession of the number 4 spot to also fall to the Mighty Miltanks. Not likely, but there is a shot at it. We've got to take care of business first, so let's go into Matt's team. Tapu Koko, Kartana, Zoroark, Tapu Lele, Xatu, Ludicolo, Poliwrath, Turtonator, Quagsire, Shuckle, and Ditto. Wow, this is a weird looking team. Very top heavy with Gen 7 Legends and an Ultra Beast, Ditto and Zoroark to mess with your mind, Xatu and Quagsire to keep heavy on stall tactic, a random rain component without Drizzle, and the Legend himself in Shuckle. Prepping for all this can be very, very tough, so let's try and break down some things that maybe don't have to focus as hard on. Ludicolo and Poliwrath can potentially set up rain and go to town, but I'm not terribly convinced of their prowess. They're slow to start, and I have so many ways to stop them in their tracks. Zoroark in particular can stop them cold, and Vanillix changing the weather is in an instant, and nuking them with Freeze Dry means I'll count them out. Xatu is super annoying and with bouncing back hazards, but his team isn't particularly vulnerable to rocks anyways, with this and Turt being the only weaknesses. Victini, Cobalion, Noivern, and Zoroark all outspeed Xatu and can nuke it from orb pretty effectively. Shuckle is, well, unique, shall we say. I'm going to pack Taunt on him on or two, and otherwise I can't touch poison types very well at all. We'll take some measures, but it's a similar process to Ditto proofing, as we'll go over in a bit. Finally, I think Turtonator has a pretty decent chance to come, but I'll pass on it, particularly because he knows that I have to bring Claydol this week, which we'll get to in a bit, and because I have faster mons like Noivern and Nidoking that just ruin its day. That leaves Quagsire in, one of my all-time favorite mons that requires grass coverage to handle. My grass type recently got an upgrade, downgraded from Bulu to Tangela, so it seems a little more likely to come. Ground coverage plus Toxic seems pretty good, especially if I bring lots of mons from the same side of the spectrum that he can wall. Ditto's probably coming, but there isn't much to talk about with it. It's his most reliable speedster, but he's got plenty already, and, well, we'll talk about Ditto in the actual team. Tapu Koko is a handful, but I actually have a couple of the best answers in the game to it, specifically Nidoking, who is immune to the strong stab and resists the other, plus U-turn, plus hits super effectively with ease. Claydol having to come is a boon too. We'll see what Koko can do. Lele is a problem, yes, and Psychic doesn't have the most resistances on my team, yes, but it isn't at the very top, mostly because I have some strong attackers faster than it, plus a whole Victini that is an awesome answer. Still, those Specs or Scarf stabs hit super hard. We've got to be careful about this mon. Zoroark makes that difficult masquerading as another team member and forcing me to be careful about which mon is actually out. There are some ways to tell the surge abilities of the Tapus and maybe differing stealth rock damage as Quagsire or Kartana, or maybe not transforming as Ditto, but a single dark move coming out could be rough, or catching me off guard with the proper coverage move, or there are a few ways this thing could just break me open, just like Lele and mostly like Kartana, just outspeeding my Cobalion, and with power and coverage out the wazoo. Kartana is a huge problem. My resist barely counters as resists, especially when combined with minimal extra coverage like Knockoff and Sacred Sword. On my side, I couldn't justify Rotom coming. It's quite good against his bad mons, but outsped by the big threats and not doing enough to justify. Arctovish also couldn't hack it, relying on Hail and still being stopped a little too hard by things like Kartana or Ditto. Freeze Dry would have been a neat trick, but we'll make it work with other mons. Tangela had a place, but I didn't like the inability to hit Kartana back with anything meaningful, the damage Lele and Zoroark do, or keeping Ditto healthy with Regenerator. For the first time this season, Cobalion will ride the bench. Yeah, the Steel type against 2 Tapos and a Shuckle is on the bench, but Cobalion doesn't resist Fairy and still gets outsped by Kartana and needs spring fighting coverage, which leaves it susceptible to Ditto. It really didn't fit the team dynamic this week, so it'll ride the bench. Finally, while I felt good about my top 5, my remaining mon was left as a little bit of a fill-in, so I went with Vanillix to leave behind. Despite the power of Freeze Dry, if the Rain mons were left behind, it'd be a bit lacking, not to mention the necessity of a Scarf, which really isn't the position I want to be in with this mon, so no Ice Cream. I picked Obstagoon instead for the final slot here, a standard set since Knockoff and Facade hit so hard. For 2 main reasons. We start the Ditto proofing here, as Ditto only wishes it could get the same guts boost as us, and won't be doing much that's meaningful otherwise, considering the weak Facade are knocking off an already used Flame Orb. The last 2 moves are what you go for, which I could just follow up with an easy swap. The second is as a dark resist, meaning if I have the need to scout for Zoroark, I can do so slightly more safely, though of course I can still run something like low kick for me. Vanillix's Hail could have also done something Zoroark scouting, but I'm satisfied with this. Let's just move on to Claydol next. As I've said multiple times that I do need to bring it, yes, we actually have a fun in this league, and that idea comes with all of your mons coming at least once. Cramorant couldn't find a spot, but Claydol actually has some neat tools that Cramorant just doesn't. The Rapid Spin is a good one, even if it's only good against Shuckle, it's worth it to bring. Teleport's a very cool way to pivot around, and Earth Power provides obvious stab. Grass Knot is last as a way to actually break through Quagsire, even if it won't do to much to myself. Yes, Ditto coming in and copying Claydol won't be doing much either, though I am bringing a Hazard this week. A Grass Knot for myself should be doing somewhere around 20%, maybe a little bit more, and I can safely teleport out. Earth Power does nothing, Scarf Teleport is faster than mine, and Rapid Spin is a very funny move to lock into. Maximaduff is here to make me better Lele Wall if needed, as well as Coco, as well as Special Zoroark. Not too complicated. Speaking of Grass Knot, let's take a look at yet another Special Zoroark, I said I come up with early in the process to beat Kartana and Quagsire with R-Sphere and Grass Knot. Well, I'm actually building around Zoroark now more than ever before. Wonder if the Victini pickup was necessary at all then. We'll talk about that in a bit, as we're also packing a strong Volt Switch for momentum, backed up by Magnet, and Taunt, of course, for Shuckle. His team tends to be a little more physically defensive rather than special, save for Calm Mind between Kartana, or Turtonator, and Quagsire, so I thought this might work well. Anyways, the special attack investment is specifically to Oko Max HP Quagsire with Grass Knot, with speed for Coco and the rest as a bulk. As for Ditto, I would hate to give Ditto HP with Volt Absorb, but that's unavoidable. What does he hit me with, though? R-Sphere for a third? That's another reason why you'll see a good amount of HP investment on so many mons, too. It's a stat that Ditto cannot copy, so I think it works pretty well. We're going to keep up the momentum train. Let's talk about Victini. Finally, a physical set with V-Crate as an absolute nuke. U-turn for momentum. Energy Ball, yet again for Quagsire, is the best fire answer. And Protect. Yep, that's for Ditto. Scarfing Recreate, I'll take it and hit you back at -1 defense. Scarfing U-turn, I'll stay in then and U-turn out myself. Energy Ball, I can stay in easily and nuke you back. Protect gives me that leeway, which is nice. Not much of HP here because I needed the speed for Lele and lots of attack. Energy Ball 2 at KO's Quagsire anyways. The final momentum piece is going to be Noivern, who doesn't have a dragon move thanks to Ditto and his 3 big point mons all being immune to it or resisting. Instead we've got Utility, with Roost for recovery, U-turn as a pivot, Flamethrower for Kartana, and Toxic as a way to actually break through anything. That's definitely the risky move on the set, but I like what it can do to break down things like Quagsire or Lele among others, so I couldn't pass it up. That's 4 pivot mons for those counting at home, and honestly the biggest upgrade I've seen so far from the transactions. We went from Baton Pass, Latias, and Flareon with nothing from Bulu or Cramorant into U-turn Victini and Noivern and Teleport Claydol and Regenerator Tangela. That's pretty nice. Really liking how the team building has been coming together here too. Finally, Noivern does have speed for Kartana, of course, and Ditto-proofed aside from the Toxic. Let's just finish off with this Nidoking set. Dual Stab and Substitute makes a lot of sense to start with Substitute coming free against things like Shuckle, and the stabs covering basically everything. Black Sludge is here over Lifer because I like the longevity I could potentially have with Sub, a neat advantage that could get amplified by the tech choice of the week in Toxic Spikes. Yeah, I've threatened to bring it a couple times now, but it is finally the best time for them, I think. Rather than worrying about Ditto toxicking me, the best chance is to set these up against him. Then if Ditto trying to absorb them later, with my poison type, he cannot do that, and I can, so no poison types on his side also means either Defog, Xatu, or copying Claydol are his only answers, while I poison things like Lele, Coco, Zoroark, Quagsire, and others. Oh, and for Ditto, Sub is the best answer in the game to it, letting me hit him back with Earth Power if he swaps in, and stopping the Imposter ability entirely, if not behind the Sub. Not to mention Claydol being one of the few mons to resist both stabs. Yes, another reason for Claydol to come is pretty useful, and another reason to go Max Def on it, a nice Nidoking answer. That's going to be the team. Let's hop into the final week of the regular season. Shuckle is always a possibility, I suppose, and no Coco actually makes a bit of sense too, anti-synergy with Rest Shuckle. But Poliwrath and no Zoroark? Ooh, that makes me feel pretty good, actually. With Shuckle here, I do need to focus on that a little more, and that's why I'm going to lead Zeraora in order to taunt. Good luck to Cat Measles. Quagsire opener. Ooh, that is so tempting. He could easily swap to Scout for it. But what, into Lele or Kartana? Easy follow-up plays on those. I'm EV'd before this specifically. Let's go for it. Grass Knot. Oko on turn 1. Woo! Did you see all that excellent coverage I packed for Quaggy? That paid off, I'd say. 6-5 after just 1 turn. Excellent. And the fun will not stop, with Shuckle coming and Fat Tauntaun coming to stop the sticky web. Yes, and with that, you already know that the fun train will come to a screeching halt. Volt Switch is the easy follow-up, but I kind of didn't, and Shuckle stayed in. Why would it stay in? Knock off? Well, no matter what it was, I think Obscune is absolutely not the play, but here we are. Well, I was anticipating a hard switch and tried to use the opportunity to goon up and get the Flame Orb activated, but, Infestation, I'm not escaping this. Parting Shot really should have come too, honestly. More momentum and the ability to get out of this move, but most importantly, still fit in with the Ditto shenanigans. Well, to make the most of it, I will knock off into Grip Claw. Yeah, I'm just dead here, aren't I? Between the Burn and Infestation chip. I'm just going to F this out a few times. At least try to force it to rest, as it does set up the Sticky Web in there. Yep, this is Shuckle for you. No taunt, no Parting Shot, and at least it's the most disposable member going down. You'll do something one day, Obscune, don't worry. But I do have an idea here. Once it is forced to rest one more time here. It's actually pretty crucial that these rest turns have been going on here. But my idea is, of course, Nidoking. Yes, I'm worried about the webs, and I'll have to deal with them at some point. Claydol can spin them later, and until then, I'm not a fan of underspeeding some big threats. But what if we pressure him to defog first, if he has it? Nidoking in, and we're just going to sub up on the incoming Sleepy Time. And let's try and see if we can make some magic happen. Yes, all that damage from earlier is going to force him to rest in case we were going for an Earth Power or something like that. So that's pretty nice. Toxic Spikes is the next step. One is down for free. And on the second, he's going to make a big slip up and bring in Ditto on the substitute, meaning there is no transformation happening, and the second layer goes down with Ditto regularly poisoned. Well, there's zero chance he's staying in now. Earth Power is, of course, the safe play. It's the correct play. It hits everything because he doesn't have any resists or immunities to ground. Correct play. Kartana down. Oh my goodness. I'm full health. I'm behind a sub. 2 layers of Toxic Spikes down, and Kartana just went down. And that's how you take advantage of Shuckle. Rip my sweet Prince Obscune, but at least it forced him into rest range, right? It can't get worse for him. Right? Tapu Lele is the last big threat. Calm Mind would be pretty scary here, but the incoming Sludge Wave is doing 62%, and the Toxic and Lefties will cancel, of course. He's going to Calm Mind again? Sludge Wave will crit to KO, but I don't know if that mattered or not, considering I just needed to do about 32% after doing 62% to bring him into Toxic range. Turns out this was a set without a Psychic move. Mono attacking setup with Draining Kiss and Iron Defense, plus Aromatherapy. Cool set. Nidoking behind a sub, doesn't care. So who's going to be up next? It is Poliwrath. What does this guy even do? Whirlpool? Sludge Wave doesn't do much, but the sub's still up. Okay. Wow. Yeah, okay. Sludge Wave and Whirlpool one more time. Okay, well, the safe play that can set me up to not deal with the Nidoking next turn is going to be going into Claydol, funnily enough. Rapid Spin could break me out of Whirlpool, too, so if that was something I needed to worry about, Claydol was a pretty neat answer to that. Poly goes down to Poison, and it's Ditto and Shuckle versus the world. He has one more Sleep turn to go. Let's Rapid Spin on this turn, since now that he's up, he can Infestation me, right? Or can he teleport out? Speedy Claydol is out. Definitely did its job, so I'm very happy about that, for sure. Right into Zero Aura for the taunt, of course. He's going to Infestation. That's fine. We're just going to Magnet Volt Switch right out. Not sure we didn't do that on turn 3, but it could have clouded his judgment anyways, and let me get out into Victini on another Infestation, of course. Well, he's got to rest now, or he's gone. Oh, wait. The taunt is still up. Excellent. V-Create. He stayed in too, so Ditto didn't take the V-Create for it. Now it's in range of another one. He can come in and copy the stats if he wants to, but it looks like no, and he's going to go down to another one. Only Ditto left, and it's at -2, -2, -2. As it copies the stat drops. Excellent. We're just going to protect up to see what he's going into. And then we can, now that we know that he has this, well, he is not locked, of course, because he has leftovers, but we're just going to go into Noivern, who can stall on this basically all day. And we're just going to play around a little bit more here. We can roost up on some V-Crates while Poison takes its toll. In the end, eventually we're going to end up U-turning into Zero Aura, who will claim the final KO of the regular season for us. It's 12th overall, ending as the number 2 KO leader in the league behind just Rillaboom, as we handed a few too many KOs to ourselves, as we finish with a 5-0 victory over the Incineroar. GG to Matt. Really cool team that just kind of lost to some Nidoking. Glad I got to take advantage of Shuckle like that for sure. This very much felt like Nidoking has come into its own after the past couple weeks, potentially a result of those momentum moves I highlighted earlier, giving it a better chance to shine. Nidoking MVP followed by Incineroar with special shouts to Claydol for actually doing something as a 40-point mon, funnily enough, and Victini's for its V-Create, creating a fun endgame scenario with its damage on Shuckle and the weakness downside also being utilized. That means we're done our part for playoffs, staying at least the number 6 seed if not higher. After this battle, the Close Combat Club also fell to the Steamrollers, bumping us up to number 5. Top 4 is that close. But the Route 1 Burbs were able to defeat the Miltanks, and that means we just mid us out on the number 4 slot. With 12 teams, 1 through 4 got byes, and 5 through 12 play each other in the first round. If we just taken care of business on one of those ugly losses, weeks 5 or 6, funnily enough, we've got ourselves a revenge opportunity right in front of us. As the number 5 team, we actually get to play the number 12 team, the mighty Miltanks. We handed them their only victory of the season in week 5. But now that we've got a whole new team, it may be time to serve up some vengeance. Let's see if we can break through the Miltanks this time. And a victory there means we're in the quarterfinals guaranteed against the Route 1 Burbs. Can't look too far ahead against a opponent we've already dropped to, though. So we'll end things off here. See ya.